century, the prospective students from these ancient schools were expected to be trained by a residing minister, and once they were trained, the minister would say they were college ready, and then they should go be interviewed by the college president and the faculty of the institution they were looking for. And this also, during the 18th century, there was a growing divide between what the actual focus of the education should be. So it was between literacy, numerology, and basic knowledge acquisition skills versus Republican values and citizenship. In 1745, Yale added to the already existing admission requirements of Latin and Greek, they added arithmetic. And in the 1790s, the government increased funding for preparatory schools to get their students going on to college.
Right, and as they increased funding for preparatory schools, they were hoping to get more people going to college and create kind of like a classless educational system, which in theory is a great idea, but you always have the upper class going, well, I really don't want the education that just anyone can have. They wanted something a little bit better. And the other issue that came up was as they added more subjects to try to keep up with what colleges were expecting, colleges kept broadening their admission requirements. So it was always this divide, and nobody was on the same page about where they needed to be. And the other issue with secondary education expanding is high school just be on a more selective basis more like colleges were. And teachers began to see how, I don't really see how we can educate everyone at the same level, the same standard, and expect them all to go out to schools. Not everyone is college material. Despite this, every decade following, enrollments doubled every decade following 1890. So it just kept snowballing. More kids were going to school, but funding wasn't there, and neither was the quality of education. With the 20th century, they wanted to emphasize education a little bit more, and in the 20s and 30s, they put in child, anti-labor laws to force kids out of the workhouses, into school. They thought, education is important, let's get this done, but it's easier said than done when you don't give them the funding to back that up. And then with World War II, we saw baby boom and increasing population again. So we need even more secondary education schools with already limited resources. And one of the democratization of secondary education was also its Achilles heel. Really you kind of start sacrificing excellence when you start saying I want to educate everybody. And so as we move into the 1950s and 70s, there's this battle between equality and excellence, democracy and efficiency, progress and tradition. And this eventually led to the National Commission of Excellence in Education being chartered. And this would be kind of the precursor to the No Child Left Behind Act. They had a study in '83, and they found that 13% of all 17-year-olds in the U.S. Could be considered functionally illiterate. Among minorities, it was probably thought to be even higher, more like 40%. When looking at SATs, there's a steady decline in verbal, math, physics, and English. Nearly 40% of all 17-year-olds could not draw inferences from written material. 20% couldn't write a persuasive essay. And 30% couldn't handle math problems that had more than a couple steps. And this is where we see the rise of remedial courses. Remedial math courses in public four-year colleges increased by 72%, which meant it was 25% of all math courses taught at those institutions. So following the 1983 study in the 1990s, they really pushed for basing standards on reassessing, and if people want funding, they need to show us they deserve it. So here comes No Child Left Behind in 2002. They said, let's tie academic accountability to federal funding. And they thought, this should close the gap. If you want funding, you're going to do what you need to be a better school. But the problem is the schools that were already good just got more funding because they were meeting the expectations of the government. But the ones that already struggled, the inner city schools, had a hard time, meeting those requirements. So although they were already poor and struggling to get good educators and teachers who could handle this, kind of low income, low IQ student base, the funding wasn't there. So it actually just, increased that gap between the two schools.
Okay, now we're going to be talking more about the different leadership roles within higher education, this being academic affairs, student affairs, and administrative affairs. And we found in administrative affairs, one of their main issues is this disconnect between high schools and colleges that we've been talking about. And we have this video
are likely to get access to the courses that will get them into college and good jobs. We have a caste system today in public education. It is designed to produce the results we get. Let me tell you how big the achievement gap is. By 7th grade in California, Latino and African American 7th graders are reading and doing math at about the level of white 3rd graders. The gap is already 4 years worth of learning as students leave elementary school and get into middle school. By high school, it explodes. Nationwide, those that are left in the 12th grade read and do math at about the level of white 7th graders across the country. When we say the achievement gap dooms young people hobbled by the gap to the margins of the American mainstream, they will not be able to get good jobs. You cannot leave high schools as an 18-year-old reading and doing math as a middle schooler. You will not be able to even go to the community college and get college credit-bearing coursework. We have this fiction that our kids can go to community college. You can go there even without a high school diploma until they have to go take the basic skills tests and the placement tests. And then they're channeled into remedial classes. Classes where in community college and even in four-year colleges, they're actually doing high school over again. They're not earning college credit for it. You know what they're getting? A whole lot of debt. And so what we're seeing is patterns of black and brown young people that do get access to college that never get out with a degree or a credential. Instead, they get out with some credits and a whole lot of student loan debt that you can't even get rid of in bankruptcy.
I'm the first in my family to attend a college or university, obviously first to graduate. And I can remember my counselor, and I attended a low socioeconomic school, predominantly minority. And I can remember my counselor saying, well, your parents did not attend college, so therefore you're probably not going to attend college. Clearly wrong mindset. We never want to have a system, nor will we as long as I'm state superintendent, that does what we call.
This video is obviously geared towards minority students, but we found that it can really apply to all students.
The rest of the video really shows the difference between college eligibility and college ready. That just because you graduate high school, it doesn't mean the logical next step is necessarily college if you're not prepared. And from the academic side of it, we talked to Jennifer Johnson, who is the college transition advisor for Lorraine County Community College's early college high school. And with that, they take students, the minimum GPA requirement, they're just kind of your average students, not your above and beyond, and they take them out of the at-risk schools in Lorraine County, which is Admiral County, Clearview, Elyria High, stuff like that. And they take them in starting in 9th grade, and they have a special high school attached to the college there. And the first 2 years, they go through almost like a normal, high school-like environment, except a lot of the courses are taught by college professors. And then their junior and senior year, they start, integrating into the college campus, and they take regular college courses. And the ultimate goal then is, by the time they graduate, they not only have a high school diploma, they have an associate's degree as well. So kids who might have been, the kids coming in as A3, A4 students, actually have a jump on the college process. Which is huge because you said, this isn't even about high school or college prep, it's middle school prep. These are 9th graders coming in with a 5th grade reading level. These are first generation college students, their parents can't help them fill out a FAFSA or a college application. So I thought this was a really kind of unique answer to the problem, that if we maybe had more of these kind of programs, it might help with the college preparation gap.
And some leadership initiatives that are being done on the student affairs end is the emphasis on student success. And that's sort of been a recent thing that's been going on. Student success means outcomes while the student is in college and also beyond. And these success initiatives are being
It's from the Octa Chronicle wrote, most high school teachers think their state standards successfully prepare students for college, but college instructors disagree. So this juncture between the high schools and the colleges is the biggest issue we need to overcome. Another issue is the achievement gap of minority students and white students, which we just viewed in the video, as well as the rise of disengaged students, which Glenn talked about earlier. Another issue is making sure our teachers in high schools are educated enough to be able to teach more rigorous courses. And this video is about